Good morning to all and welcome to the session, the Hindu Editorial Analysis for Proficiency in English. Let us start the session with the question, what is this editorial about? This editorial is about the Supreme Court's directive to conduct elections in Jammu and Kashmir by September 30, 2024, following the abrogation of Article 370. It welcomes the court's decision but criticizes the absence of a similar directive for the restoration of statehood in the region, emphasizing the importance of federal autonomy. The editorial, besides that, the editorial examines the historical context of the conflict in Jammu and Kashmir, analyzes local government elections, and underscores the significance of political processes for resolving issues in the region. So, this is about the editorial. What is the tone of the editorial? The tone of the editorial is critical and analytical. On the one hand, it appreciates, on the other hand, it criticizes. The editorial expresses a favorable view toward the Supreme Court's directive to conduct elections in Jammu and Kashmir, but is critical of the lack of a similar directive regarding the restoration of statehood. There are two dimensions over here. One is conducting elections, the other one, a restoration of statehood. Conducting elections, the editorial appreciates, and not giving a similar directive regarding the restoration of statehood, it does not approve. How does the editorial start? Welcome direction. Directive based on that. Welcome direction. On the Supreme Court's deadline to conduct elections in Jammu and Kashmir. It is about conducting elections and giving a deadline. But what is the main idea of this editorial? As with elections, the Supreme Court should have given a deadline for restoration of statehood too. There's one, whatever you see in green, grammar related. As with elections, it has given a deadline. The same way, the Supreme Court should have given a deadline for restoration of statehood too. And here should have given. It's an important helping verb. What is the function of this helping verb? The lengthy one. It is used to express an unfulfilled duty or a neglected action. There are two dimensions, unfulfilled duty, neglected action. Should have given a deadline for restoration of statehood too. In its conclusion, and as I said, whatever you see in green, do remember goes with all those things go with grammar. Whatever you see in red related to vocabulary. Here it's possessive pronoun, we should not use we should not use the apostrophe. That you have to recollect. In its conclusion in the judgment that upheld, what is the meaning of the word upheld? Part of speech verb, confirm or support something which has been questioned. In a way, you can say upheld means what? Support. And at the same time, confirm something that has been questioned. That upheld the decision to abrogate an important word, part of speech, repeal or do away with a law, a right, or formal agreement. Abrogate, you can also think of the word repeal, cancel. So, in its conclusion in the judgment that upheld the decision to abrogate the special status of Jammu and Kashmir under Article 370, the Constitution Bench of the Supreme Court expressly directed that the Election Commission of India (ECI) must conduct elections to the Legislative Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir by 2024, September 30, 2024. That means what? It has given a deadline. The Election Commission of India must conduct. Another helping verb here, I should have made it green. Must is used to express a personal obligation. It is also used to convey the idea that something is compulsory. ECI must conduct elections to the Legislative Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir by September 30, 2024. So the Supreme Court directive has given the deadline to conduct elections. And what is the deadline? September 30, 2024. It is welcome that the court has set a deadline. As I said, this editorial has two dimensions. One dimension, it appreciates giving the deadline to conduct elections in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. On the other hand, it criticizes not giving a similar directive or not giving a similar deadline to restore the statehood. It is welcome. We welcome it. It is welcome. So it is in present passive voice. It is welcome that the court has set present perfect tense, a deadline to conduct the long delayed elections in Jammu and Kashmir, which has been under has been here it is in present perfect, but active voice, not passive voice, mind you, which has been under spells of governor's rule and president's rule since June 2018, and without a legislative assembly. If you look at Jammu and Kashmir, it is in present perfect. It talks about a particular state from 2018 or since 2018 and the present situation from the past to the present. It talks about the state. We have to use present perfect tense. Has been under spells of. Here the word spell, noun. A period of time for which an activity or condition lasts continuously. And very good, Tripura Sundari. We use dry spell. Here you should also recollect spell out. Spell out goes with common errors. Spell out means say something in detail. A lot of people say, please spell it out in detail. That is not correct. It's a common error. Spell it out in detail is nothing but redundancy. Please spell it out. That itself means tell in detail. Spells of governor's rule and president's rule since June 2018, and without a legislative assembly. But it is also incongruous, an important word. Incongruous means what? Part of speech adjective, unusual or different from what is around or from what is generally happening. In a way, you can say unusual means different, abnormal, aberration. All these words you can think of, not something normal. But it is also incongruous that the judgment does not press the government. Here, there is one important word. I should have brought it in red. Should not, does not press the government. Press, it could be a noun, it could be a verb. As a noun, you all know it goes with the publications, the press. But here, press as a verb has two meanings. You press something with something that is very heavy, a regular meaning that goes with everyday English. But in this context, press the government means force the government. What does it mean? Force. That the judgment does not press the government, force the government to restore statehood to the bifurcated union territory. There is a second dimension, a promise that has been conveyed. It is in present perfect passive voice by the Solicitor General, but has yet to gain fruition. Here, yet to gain. Generally, I tell students when you come across the word yet, you got to be alert. A common error, they use the word yet in the middle of the sentence, but it has to be at the end of the sentence. The train hasn't come yet, not the train hasn't yet come. The train hasn't come yet. And usually it goes with present perfect tense. But there's a short form expression, yet to come, yet to gain. Nothing wrong with this. So this sentence talks about, on the one hand, the Supreme Court directive has given a deadline to conduct elections. That is quite, it's a welcome, it is something that is appreciable. But on the other hand, something is incongruous, means unusual. What is that? Not giving a similar deadline to restore the statehood. A promise that has been conveyed by the Solicitor General but has yet to gain fruition, means yet to become a reality. The bench remarks that direct elections cannot be put on hold until statehood is restored. The bench remarks, here it is in present, subject is third person singular. The bench remarks that direct elections cannot be put on hold. It is in passive voice. We cannot put on hold the elections, active voice. The elections cannot be put on hold, passive voice, with the helping verb can, negative form. Cannot be put on hold until statehood is restored. But the editorial says, but it could have directed the union government to restore statehood and conduct elections by a specified date. The editorial opines it should have been the other way. There are two things over here. The court says we cannot hold the elections till the statehood is restored. That is one thing. And the editorial says it should have been the other way. Means what? First you restore the statehood, then conduct the elections by a specified date, as there remains no reason for the continuance of Jammu and Kashmir as a union territory. Why should they restore the statehood first and then conduct elections, there is no reason for the continuance of Jammu and Kashmir as a union territory. A restoration of statehood is an important measure. Now, why does the editorial talk about the stand taken by the editorial? Emphatically, statehood should be restored. What is the reason behind to take that stand? A restoration of statehood is an important measure as this guarantees a degree of federal autonomy to the province that should allow the elected government to be able to better address the concerns of the electorate than depend on the representatives of the union government. What it says, if the statehood is restored, then it guarantees a degree of federal autonomy. We all know India is known as quasi federal. Quasi federal means what? Not completely federal, partially unitary, partially federal. Federal means the states have the power. Unitary means the union has the center has the power. Quasi partial, some powers go with the center and some powers go with the states. So here, once they restore the statehood, that guarantees a degree of federal autonomy. Federal means a state in this context, autonomy being independent, not depending on someone or something. To the province, that means Jammu and Kashmir, and that should allow, if they get the statehood, what is the benefit? What is the benefit? That should allow the elected government to be able to better address, better deal with the concerns of the electorate, the problems of the electorate, than depend on the representatives of the union government. When it comes to the concerns or the problems of the particular province, that is Jammu and Kashmir, it is quite obvious and sheer common sense that it is better if the power is given to the state and the state can deal with the problems in a better way rather than depending on the representatives of the union government. That's what the editorial says. Jammu and Kashmir, now editorial talks about the backdrop. Jammu and Kashmir remains among India's most conflict prone. There's one important word here, prone. Prone means likely or liable to suffer from, do or experience something unpleasant or regrettable. Disease prone, prone to something, prone to diseases, means likely to get the diseases. Here, conflict prone means a lot of problems likely to take place or appear or surface. Jammu and Kashmir remains among India's most conflict prone regions, partially due to historical reasons. What are the reasons behind to remain conflict prone? Partially due to historical reasons related to the integration of the erstwhile princely state into the Indian Union and later due to accumulated grievances over the conduct of democratic processes in the erstwhile state. A lengthy sentence, but what does it mean? Jammu and Kashmir remains India's most conflict prone regions. What is the reason behind? What are the reasons behind? One, historical reasons. Historical reasons, what are those historical reasons? Related to integration of erstwhile princely state. Erstwhile means what? Previous, former. Into the Indian Union and later due to accumulated grievances, accumulated over a period of time, accumulated grievances. Grievances means what? A complaint or a strong feeling that you have been treated unfairly. Accumulated grievances over the conduct of democratic processes in the erstwhile state. These are the reasons conflict prone. Even when periodic and regular elections were conducted during the height of the militancy, participation was limited in many parts of the valley. When they conducted elections periodically, regularly, the participation was limited in many parts of the valley, denoting the disenchantment with the political system. Another important word, disenchantment. What does it mean? A feeling of no longer believing in the value of something, especially having learned of the problems with it. Means, in a way, to get detached, to lose confidence in something, to lose belief in something, denoting the disenchantment with the political system. But things took a change for the better. There's an important phrase, for the better. But things took a change for the better since the early mid 2000s when electoral participation improved and Jammu and Kashmir citizens began to partake in the democratic process, to get their concerns addressed before agitations and protests, including by separatists, over security policies and later steps taken by the Bharatiya Janata Party led to the current state of affairs. A lengthy sentence, whenever you come across a lengthy sentence, you got to read twice, thrice. Only then you can understand or comprehend. There's one important word here, partake. To become involved with or take part in something. In this context, take part in the democratic process. That means participate, cast a vote. It talks about the change. But things took a change for the better since the early mid 2000s when electoral participation improved and Jammu and Kashmir citizens began to partake in the democratic process to get their concerns addressed before agitations and protests, including by separatists, over security policies and the later steps taken by the BJP led to the current state of affairs. Before this present scenario has come into existence, there was some improvement in and Jammu and Kashmir citizens began to partake. But unfortunately, certain things like agitations, protests, including by separatists, and also security policies and the later steps taken by the BJP led to the current state of affairs. Current state of affairs, another important expression you have to remember. Now, what happened if you look at the last 5 years? In the last or in the past 5.5 years, whenever you come across a phrase like this, you have to think of present perfect tense. Local government elections have been held. Present perfect passive voice with varying levels of participation, indicating that the mood in the valley has been against the measures that have been implemented since 2018. There is some sort of indication against the measures that have been implemented since 2018. And here it talks about local government elections have been held with varying levels of participation, means high, low, all these. And what does it indicate? Indicating that the mood in the valley has been against the measures that have been implemented since 2018. Again, present perfect passive voice. India's unique selling proposition as a leader in the global south remains its robust, means strong, conduct of formal democratic process and which in itself is important for conflict resolution in places such as Kashmir. So India's image or India's USP, unique selling proposition as a leader in the global south, what is it? Remains its robust conduct of formal democratic process, belief in democratic process, and which in itself is important when it comes to conflict resolution in places such as Kashmir. Robust means strong. What is the meaning of the word robust? Part of speech adjective. Of a person or animal strong and healthy, or of an object or system strong and unlikely to break or fail. How does the editorial end? Without political processes, a contestation, a new word, means the act of arguing or disagreeing about something. Without political processes, a contestation of ideas and a sense that elected representatives can address the grievances of citizens, there cannot be any normalcy. Without political processes and with arguments about something and a sense that elected representatives can address the grievances of citizens, there cannot be any normalcy. To expect or to get normalcy, certain things are required. One of the things, restoring statehood, and the other, obviously, conducting elections in the state. That's all about this editorial. Now, let us go to comprehension based questions. What is the main focus of the Supreme Court's directive in the article? Try to respond quickly and don't leave. The last slide talks about today's enrichment. That will be useful to consolidate whatever you have learned today from this editorial. So, what is the main focus of the Supreme Court's directive in the article? A restoration of statehood, conducting local government elections, abrogation of Article 370, security policies in Jammu and Kashmir. Discord, disagreement, bone of contention, apple of discord, very good. 1B, conducting local government elections. Not C, First thing is appreciation, conducting local government elections. After that, it is like focus on uh, restoration of statehood. No, not about abrogation of the Article 370. Why does the writer find the Supreme Court's directive incongruous? Why does the author find the Supreme Court's directive incongruous? What is the reason behind? The court overstepped its jurisdiction. Their deadline for elections is too soon. There is no directive for the restoration of statehood. As I said, this editorial has two dimensions. One positive dimension, appreciating the Supreme Court's directive of giving a deadline to conduct elections, and the other one, negative, no directive, no similar directive for the restoration of statehood. What does the restoration of statehood in Jammu and Kashmir guarantee? According to the article, if the statehood is restored, what does it guarantee? Answer is C, obviously. Question number three. What does the restoration of statehood in Jammu and Kashmir guarantee? According to the article, increased central control, federal autonomy. When it gets the statehood, it obviously results in federal autonomy. Not correct, not correct. What historical factor contributes to the conflict in Jammu and Kashmir, as mentioned in the editorial? Historical factor. A recent economic policy is not correct. Integration of the princely state into the Indian Union, hold this one. A restoration of statehood in 2018, global south influence. Answer is B. Integration of the princely state into the Indian Union. According to the article or according to the editorial, what is India's unique selling proposition in the global south? B. Have you checked B? Yes. Military strength? No way. Economic policy is no. Robust conduct of formal democratic processes. It talks about the same. As part of that, it has to restore statehood and conduct elections. Answer is C. And now let us go to what have you learned today from this editorial? Grammar, you have learned the function of the helping verb should have plus verb past participle. It is used to express an unfulfilled duty or a neglected action. It's a possessive pronoun. You should not use an apostrophe with possessive pronoun. Possessive pronouns never take an apostrophe. Yet to gain, yet to come, a standard expression. And latter. Later talks about the time, latter talks about position. Both are comparative forms. You have very important from the exam point of view. Change for the better, a standard phrase you have to remember. Current state of affairs, current scenario, present scenario, very important. And what are the words you have learned from today's editorial? You have learned upheld means confirm, and abrogate means cancel, repeal, revoke, spell. Spell in this context means what? A particular period that continues for some time. Incongruous, unusual, not the regular one, not normal. Autonomy, independence, prone, likely to get affected. Erstwhile, former, previous. Grievances, a problem or a feeling that you have been treated unfairly. And disenchantment, loss of belief or faith in someone or something. Partake, participate. Robust, strong, healthy. And contestation, argument. That's all about today's editorial. Thanks for being with me. And do remember to subscribe and share. I will see you guys this evening at 6 p.m. SBI Clerk 2024, English mocks, 20 questions, and important exam topics, as well as